is your girl, Auntie Bev. Tonight, I'm joined by my favorite person in the world. Mwah! Skosana. Meet my friend, Skosana.
Well, Nyabonga, Auntie Bev, thank you
Thank you.
for inviting me. I'm glad to be here tonight.
I'm so glad for you to be here.
Yes. So,
Debele Shona.
Sisonke.
Sisonke kona
Together, absolutely. Asikhulume.
Ngathi tawe.
Aw, sisonke.
Let's talk, eh?
So, siqala ngala siswami.
Ngitshele Bev. Ufuna ukukhuluma ngani?
Well, mina nguSikhosana. I'm based here, South Wales, Swansea, emqandweni.
From when?
Khatshana kakhulu from ekhaya koBulawayo, obviously. That's
No, but
where I'm
what
from.
year did you come to Wales?
Oh, yes. I've been here since 2011, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Guess what, guys? 2002. Yo. I'm a veteran. Ono those dashes ukuthi kabunomswanzi mabasa. Kune funeral homes. Kwakawigona esendo kuzeni ndava kuno since 2002. Samanyika ari panapo. Tosiya zvese. What about you, Ndebele boy?
Well, Siswami, mina before I actually came to Wales, to South Wales, I was in Bristol beforehand.
I know.
And I was in London before. So, yeah, I've been here for this is 23 years now.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, it's been a long journey.
So namhla siyakhuluma, sitaura, ndikuna talk.
So, namhlanje, what are we talking about? And Bev.
Well, for the meantime, we just starting this conversation, right? This is something we should bring to the people. Something new, something different, something out of the world. There's no limitations here. We're gonna be open, vibrant, and very honest with our feelings. Okay, Skosan, my friends.
Yeah, bosses.
You've been here, well, 10 years.
Yeah.
We are doing knock panaba true. We've been here take in this country, in Wales. Most people don't want to come to Wales, but they feel like that it's a very slow country. It's pure and it's countryside only. But is it like that for you?
No. I would say kahle as in ngayqala kahle siqala UKs in general, you know, as an African man coming to integrating to a totally different society. This is Europe. I've never been here. You know, I've been on an aeroplane before I came here. Yeah, but kodwa it's another thing being on an aeroplane for over 9 hours, you know? And
it's over way more than 9
well,
hours.
it's
14 hours from Zimbabwe.
You know, funny you should say. You know, the funniest thing is the first thing that strike me, mangfika la umqando, kuyaqanda la.
It's cold.
So that is one of those
but
things.
But in the west part of UK, which is, it rains here every day.
Almost every day,
yeah.
Really. Yeah, because in Bristol as well, there is just like it's rain. But again, the culture shock.
Yeah, here in Wales, 10 years later.
Yes.
How are you coping with that? Because you're coming from Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Different culture. And you're coming to Wales. You've been to England.
Yes.
This is not Wales.
Siswami yabona uyisho kahle impela la. The culture shock in itself. The first thing that hits you is the weather, I must say.
No.
Well, at least when you're lucky, you're from Mutara, I'm from Bulawayo. So yeah, we do have the weather. Of course, it does rain.
Only normal times.
The way it is over here.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, really, for me, that was the biggest one. The challenge was the food. You know, the food. You know.
Have you tried the chicken?
You know, it was the first time to know what the people actually freeze bread. I've never heard of that. And very siyasiqeda vela alichoni ilanga siyabe singasekho.
From the
so it's saying it's fresh. It's fresh
from
bread.
The oven.
There's no such thing with you freeze bread. So it's one of those differences of and then processed food. It takes a lot getting used to the taste. It's not the same.
No.
Even the vegetables, the carrot,
Frozen carrots.
It's just, I don't know. It's been very difficult in that sense. When it comes to food, and then when it comes to the weather.
What about the culture? Living the Billy culture from Blawayo. You say Blawayo, aren't you? And you're here in Wales. It's a totally different scenario when it comes to culture. How you parent your children, how you conduct yourself.
Yes.
And in work.
Yeah.
Sablawayo, umuntu says, yo, for sake, what you do?
Yabona ke phela la akufani nasekhaya ukuthi confrontation is different. The culture is totally different. Especially Tina, we come.
It's like a prison. In prison, you don't want people to mess around with you. That's Africa for you. When people come confront you and say a foot take in front of your face, you go after them. But when you in this culture now where we are at and where we are working, you can't do that. You can't go after somebody. When they say foot take, what you do?
Well,
you turn another chick and then let them slap you with other chick.
No, there's cultural differences. Yet at the same time, when I first moved to London, I didn't realize. I thought ukuthi wonke umuntu ose London ngabelungu, amangisi, makuthiwa England, wonke abantu, isingisi wonke bayafana. But actually there's the Irish, kulama Jamaican, babiza amajama,
Indians.
Wayagwana and all.
I come from Mutare. It's a very small city, very small town, very limited to things like which people getting in Harare and Blawayo, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Coming here was a culture shock for me. I went to the most poshest private schools for primary school and secondary school, but leaving those schools, I thought I had everything encompassed on me to cope with when I come to UK. I came to the UK, the first thing which I ate was chicken wings and fries. Oh shit. I don't even eat fries up to now. I don't eat fries. It was the way. But when in Zimbabwe, we had fries. You go to chicken in.
Yeah.
And the chicken itself.
Yeah.
It tasted like it just been cut out from the pan and it set to the pot.
It's fresh.
Whereas here, it tastes like it's been going to the market for 20 years and come back and go back again.
No, I can totally understand Lento Ishoyo. There are so many good things for sure. Mina advantage actually that made the transition not very that difficult is that I lived a few years in Johannesburg before I actually moved to the UK. In fact, to be quite honest, I was a bit disappointed. For me coming from Joburg, I think Joburg for me was more advanced in so many different ways in a way when I first came into England.
Culturally, I will say yes, because South Africa became very culturally advanced way long before UK became advanced. UK became advanced with the more cultures they're bringing in and accepting in this country, and that's when it became more accepting and more culturally diverse. But you look at Brixton was mainly African people only. Jamaicans only. You go to Brixton, oh yeah, what a one. If you don't speak that language, they talk to you, But with time, they've got the Chinese, you've got actually not, I won't say Chinese, but I will say Asians.
Yeah.
You got Indians, Chinese, Japanese, you name it. Then the Africans came. Nigerians, Zimbabweans, they still don't have a restaurant in Brixton.
Well, you see, the thing is with where I lived in London, I lived in North London, which is Housden and Stonebridge. So predominantly Housden and Stonebridge, North London is predominantly it's predominantly Amajama, Irish at that time. When I first came in around
Irish?
Yes, there were a lot of Irish at that time. Because they were so much into a lot of construction at that time. And most of them lived in House and Stonebridge area, which was mainly Amajama, Irish, and then you had us, the Africans, and then within the Africans, you know, we there were Southern Africans, then there's West Africans, and back
Just
then,
say Nigerians, it makes sense.
well, you see,
Yeah.
well, it's not just Ama
They're
Nigerians.
everywhere.
There's Ghanaians. They were different West Africans. And one thing I have found because I was coming, I had that mentality from Ejoza. We all sort of, it was a melting
Integrate.
pot. But Lana, it was totally different. It was a different ballgame. Everyone sort of had their own
Culture.
not culture as such, but everyone kept to themselves. I would never mingle. Like, for example, you go to the local pub. The local pub, mainly, you find the Irish there, Namachama. Maybe one or two Africans, you wouldn't find. Most Africans where we used to have...
Do you think it was because they didn't have the money to spend at the pub? Was at the end of the day, I know one thing for a fact. When I used to live in Luton, I did not see a lot of African people in the pubs.
No, that's true.
Even when I used to live in Richmond, I used to only see me as the black person. When I was in Richmond, I was the only black person.
Do you know why that? Do you know why that
They
was?
couldn't afford it.
No. It wasn't nothing to do with affording. Sometimes, mostly abantu back then, they were into school. Everyone was trying to go to universities and try to acquire some education. You understand? So we all had that sort of. We aspired to have a degree, have a profession, have a career. That was sort of the mentality. So most of us either skolo, and then you have to work. So really the time of going out and partying wasn't that much. It was limited. And every time when you do have that chance, it was mainly, indoors mainly. So mostly you'd have house parties, which were quite more common. And then it's because even the music that was played on radio, so most people didn't really sort of relate to it. Yeah. So most people, that's why, not a lot of people.
Okay, let me tell you something for nothing. Coming to the UK as a child, I didn't come here until I was 16 and I was a child. And when I came here, I was so confused with the food, with the culture and everything else. Because I had my mom telling me in my back of my head, you should do this, you should do that, you don't do this, don't do that. Go there, go there, go there. I had my mom guiding me through life, navigation and everything else. And coming into this country, for kids will be, oh, you go do what you need to do. It's okay. But I personally didn't want to do that for my kids. I wanted to guide them the same way my parents me, okay, is it Africa, they beat the shit out of your parents. No offense, parents, you beat the hell out of your kids. When they do wrong, they speak wrong, or they don't pass the exams, you beat your kids. And it's a norm. It's not something to be surprised about. It's there. We grew up with it. Don't try to make it up.
No, I'm not making it. I mean, look, discipline. Thina silesintu sethu silesintu ngendlela esikhulise ngayo yethu yesintu. So singayehlisi. Look, mina into
don't downplay it though, because it happened.
Look,
and you went through that yourself.
Yes,
but what I'm trying to say now is this: going into that environment, being a child myself. I'm in this country. I'm now on my own. I had my mom who was disciplining me, doing all these things with me, showing me places, showing guidance and everything else. But I have to navigate that by myself. And when I had the opportunity, I was working for Sodexo, the army contractor for the army for UK. I was working for Sodexo, and I was based in Drogheda in North Wales. And we had a trip to Wales, to Swansea. I came to Swansea. As we're driving down to Swansea, it's called, what's the name of the road? Anyway, there's the docks, they've got the trees, and you've got the beach. The first thing which I saw of Swansea was water. We had dams by my grandfather. And my grandfather's house, there was a stream which come through the house, to go to the other side. with water, but this I'd never seen the sea. The sea was always in Mozambique. That was the first place. So Mozambique or South Africa or Botswana.
I'm not Botswana.
No, when I see Botswana, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, but I know that South Africa and Mozambique, yes. So as I'm seeing this, I'm coming through to Wales, and I'm like, hey. Then my mother's like, you need to go back to England. Yeah, your brothers are there, your relatives are there. I said, culture change. You don't realize that how grown you are until you come to a certain place by yourself.
So hold on, Lapa.
I guess how old I was. I went into the army when I was 17 years old.
Where ekhaya kumbe la?
Khona
La UK.
I came to the UK when I was 16.
Wow.
By myself.
So when So when I your story, did you finish your Form 4 in Zimbabwe?
Yes. Even I did A levels at St. Evelyn's. I was in a boarding school here in the UK. St. Evelyn's in Wimbledon.
Wow.
Yeah. I learned my A levels here in UK.
Yeah.
The thing is, I can't say the whole background of my family because you feel like you are bragging and whatever.
I want to know at least when I was in school, I'm not so ngixoshwa ngale ngabe sebengixotsha ababhuni befuna ukungichaya. You know what I mean? So no, it was a different story for me.
It was my parents. I had a very good background. You know what? Africa is not always what they perceive it to be. We don't always come from poverty and digression. Digression is it?
Degradation.
Exactly that. Sorry, my.
It's Swami. It's
see. But digression.
Auntie Bev, I think we need a dictionary close to you.
On that note, what I was trying just to say to you is this. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different aspects of life. We all grew up in Africa, and we were raised differently. And some extent we collide how we were raised and everything else.
Yeah.
But it does not take away from what we have right now.
So
the moral of the story is, where are we at now? How do you see life?
I see where we are now. I really think we are in a very good position to really make a difference, especially to the young generation that's coming up. Especially those ones who are here, who haven't been exposed to the culture as we are from home. Mm-hmm. And most of us, including myself, now I'm guilty of it. Our children, abakwazi lokukhuluma isiNdebele, kumbe isiShona, kumbe isiVenda, kumbe isiTonga. But it's a different. Fair enough. Yeah, even if but it's not the same. But it's not the same. Let them speak the language, as I would like.
But what I want to take from this tonight, right now, before we cut this story, long story short, because we're going to come back again and we have this chat again. What I wanted us to take from this story now, our next conversation is our children. Are we impacting them the right way? Are we giving them the right tools? And are we educating them the same way our parents educate them? Are we doing the African or are we taking the British way of doing things? Do we believe the African way works or the British way works? So that's for our next story.
No, but
so think about that.
Yeah, go to Pegalapa and Bev. I feel good sometimes we get too carried away. Ngeskiwa, isilungu, this English thing.
Not only.
No, we
not
do
everyone.
sometimes. We need to have a balance. I think.
Of course.
We need to have a balance in the sense that we shouldn't forget where we're from and what we represent.
But are we? You say you want to represent where you came from and all those things, but do you put the same implements which you were raised with, which were installed in you to your child?
Absolutely. I want to give you see, that's a very good question there, Anne Bev. I want to give you an example. I've got 2 children, Mina. I've got 2 girls. One is 20, the other one is 6. She's turning 7.
I feel so sorry for you girls, guys.
But
She's
Bega,
got girls.
What I want to show you is this. The first girl, my first daughter, when I first...
She's 20 now.
Yes. She's in Bristol. Umama wakhe ngumlungu. Mina, as you can see, ngilindebele ngempela.
Yeah.
Kodwa ke lo okugcina masikhosana lo mncane. She's got 2 names. Her first name was Yandisa. Ntombenhle Sikhosana.
Yeah.
She doesn't have an English name.
No.
So that is to preserve who we are, what we are. As much as she might not speak Isindebele, but her name that presents her represents who she is and where she's from. You can
have a name which represents your culture, where you're from, who your father is. But do you understand the culture?
Of course. Siswamqathekile ngoba isi.
So, uyabuya khona apha. Uzathola umZulu khona apha for all of us.
Aye, look, what's important with culture, I think it starts from things like bekhula abantwana. Ekuseni, you know, in the morning when you prepare a simple thing, breakfast for your child. Uzomphekela le cereal labo yabelungu egcwele too much ushukela, too much sugar in that thing. Mina ngizohamba ngiyofuna impuphu yami laphana. You know, my maize meal, and I do my porridge. You put peanut butter before she goes to school. Akayi kulya breakfast what. I'll make sure ukuthi mina before aphuma endlini she has that porridge first. I want her to be nourished before she goes out there.
But remember, you're not raising a child in Africa.
But those little things, those little nuggets I'm planting
but
in.
But if
like
the child
food,
can speak the language and understand the language, how will she understand the concept of the culture?
I agree. So I cannot run away from that one. And I am guilty. And Bev, I totally agree with the show, because I feel we are guilty, Tina. Myself included. We have put this in, you know, the colonial mindset. You know, it's still... Look, what I'm trying to say is, my daughter can't even speak Isindebele properly.
But
yes,
as much
but what I'm trying to say is, if Wahamba in an Indian household or in a Somalian household, they speak their language.
Yes.
Ngoba they speak the language endlini as well.
And they take the culture.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
They don't come out of their house without the hijab. But they still...
How do we lack? Why, Tina, we lack that?
You tell me, why is Southern Africa...
No, it's because... I think it's because of we've been too much. We put Iskiwa too much. That we forget. No, we put something else that is not ours first before us. That's that colonial mentality.
Before we step on to the next phase of this conversation, I want to put something very clear to you.
Yes.
We Southern Africans, we did not put colonialism first before our culture. Our culture was tainted, and what we grew up with is what we know, but that's what our ancestors were taught by the colonialism, and with the implemented that. Okay, fine, we have to like nice music, we have to talk in English, but that is not our first language. I'm sure, and there's somebody can show. But English is supposed to be my first language. And I'm from Africa. Does it even make sense? So how can you bring a child in the UK and teach them your culture and your language, and that you can't even speak it or even understand it yourself?
You see, you come with a point there, and Bev. Your parents always try to instill that culture, that is seen to, that shonaness, that language.
Do you know why?
You see, Mina, the problem I have is that I want to make an example of me, my family, lying Pumakona. Oh, Mama no Baba. Mina, they really try to instill those values of isintu, skhuluma isintu ekhaya. But the problem was, Abo Sisi, the other influences. My parents were very old. I mean, I've got nieces and nephews older than me.
I know.
You understand? So,
I know
for example,
relatives,
if you see my dad, you'd think that was my granddad. I was the youngest in my family. So, they had that old school values, but at the same time the juxtaposition would say, hey, this new generation, like I wanna give you an example. Mina, I was born Escotine Spezini, right? But
yeah.
I grew up in Brybridge. Then we moved from places. My dad used to work for the government, was a mechanic because I was the same ET. So we were all over the place. I mean, Brybridge one moment is a pinga, one moment is whoopie. So we were all over the place. But
you should be able to speak Shona then, because you were everywhere.
The thing is, what I'm trying to show you is this: the cultureness. What I learned was the diversity of Zimbabwe from a young person. I knew that there was more than the language. Meaning,
but do you feel like we were corrupted?
Yes, absolutely.
That
very
we
much
can't
so.
even accept our own culture, because as it is right now,
you're very
all
right there.
Zimbabwean families in the UK, right? I can attest to this. I can go into any Zimbabwean people's house. The children can't speak Shona. You can't blame me for not having my kids speak Shona, because I can't speak Shona fluently myself. Okay, fine. For I've got friends who are here. You can see them in this room, right? I don't understand most of the songs which they're playing with the people from Zimbabwe. I know Mutugu, Thomas Mafumo, and who else? Yeah, those two. Oh, and what's the one who...
Do you know the Pundu Boys?
Who sang Munakandafa?
What about the Pundu Boys?
Who the fuck is that? Sorry.
How could you not know the Pundu Boys? Katwana, we see where you born.
82.
So, okay.
What about Jesus? 82 how is it affecting your Jesus?
And what I'm trying to show you there is that
I'm young.
as time goes on, things change. But what's important now is this: we have an opportunity now to try to bridge this gap.
Kids, let's be fair.
No,
my
it's
kids
not too late.
are 18 and 16, and they don't speak Shona, but they understand it. And you can never speak Shona in this house without them telling you of, if you speak about me or if you talk about them, they understand. And the other thing which I wanted to put across is this: as a culture, as people of Zimbabwe, yes, we've got different backgrounds, but we need to be accepting that we've got Shona and Ndebele in Zimbabwe. And
It's not just Shona and Ndebele. There's about what? There's about 8, 9 different...
No, but the main two languages are Shona and Ndebele. But with me, Shona, with me, I'm Samanyika. But the way I speak is Samanyika.
How many different Shona dialects that exist?
So many.
Samanyika and...
But we just put Shona and Ndebele. Those are the two dialects which are in Zimbabwe. Aren't you? So, one thing which I wanted to say, my brother, is this. We are from two different cultures. We love one another.
No, actually, I would say Shona and Ndebele and Kalanga. Because I think Ikalanga is another... Amakalanga is a very big...
Which area?
A plum tree. Who's going to plum tree.
Do they know from plum tree?
Oh, yeah. Look, Amakalanga, it's... Look, what I'm trying to say is now is that I think Tina Manje, it's up to us as parents today to do what we can to instill the value.
What I wanted to say before we got caught up in this language barrier and the cultures and everything else was to say that we failed our kids. We've lived here 20 years plus, but my kids can't even speak Shona to save their lives. They can understand it. But one thing which I don't want to do is this: I don't want us to blame society and blame culture and blame colonialism because of our failures as parents. Because this is up to us. It was up to you and me to deal with these kids and give them these blankets to say, you know what, in the ocean,
but look, Mina, the where I would disagree is this. Mina, I'm the man of the house. I'm there in the house, don't get me wrong. Nami, I have a role to play. But majority of the time, angikwe kaya. Umama sekhaya. Uwe onengane kaya ngithi. She's the one who's there with the little one.
But
listen though, let me finish this one. See, her understanding of culture is totally different from mine. She's from South Africa. She grew up. she grew up she was yabona Makulswe, she comes from parents who have that apartheid way of looking at things. So Isintu was shunned upon. So Islungu is something that is more looked up on rather than. So hence why we sometimes have these issues. I'm not saying entirely, angikhulumeli wonke umuntu. It differs, yes. Kodwa these.
But anyway, let me cut you short. Let's leave this for another day. We're gonna come back to the Ndebele and Shona culture. How
absolutely.
we do with things and how we go with things.
I'm looking forward.
But at the end of the day, we're never going to get anyone who's right on this one. But one thing which I can get to tell you what's right is that we're Zimbabweans. We love each other, isn't it? In wrapping up, Askulume Ngadita, let's talk. That's the whole point of this program. And with my brother here, we're gonna come back again. We still have more to talk about. We still have more cool munch.
Yeah, Siswami, we have so much more.
Let's talk, darling. We're gonna talk, but at the same time, comment, share, subscribe to our YouTube channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Go ahead, subscribe to us. We're here for you. Tichakuunzira zvese zvinotyisa zvinoera nezvinotambuza vanhu munzimba umu. Musanzwa kutaura chindevere nechishona da kuti nhati tonzwisisana ihanzvadzi yangu iye. Uri hanzvadzi yangu anditi?
Ngizwa kahle siswa. So siyabonga nonke, tune in and please
subscribe. Love you.
Thank you.